Hey guys, before we start, let me thank for Show It Up, which is celebrating its 10th year anniversary now. It's actually an awesome project that's been helping a lot of coastal communities in the Philippines for your ecotourism, diving, marine conservation, and other coastal conservation programs. And I'm actually part of its board of advisors now. Now, let's start with our topic on carrying capacity and a little bit on the limits of acceptable change. First, we discuss the limits of acceptable change or the LAC. It's usually qualitative. It's what's observed or what is acceptable to the community or to the stakeholders or the destination managers. Now, oftentimes they will tell what are the acceptable changes that they can tolerate. If it goes beyond those, if things goes beyond those acceptable changes, then they may have to do some drastic responses like closing the site or doing some open season, close season things. No? Now, some of the things that they can cite as the limits of acceptable change would be, let's say, for a campsite, if the campsite becomes waterlogged, then they may have to close it. If the peak is destroyed, then they may have to close it, like what's been happening in some of the mountains in the country now. When small islands become a party place or party places, it could be something that they cannot accept anymore. Or when the locals don't want the tourists anymore. And oftentimes, this is used when we encounter fewer wildlife in natural areas. Now we go to the carrying capacity. These are the technical descriptions of what a carrying capacity is. Now, there are a lot of definitions being pushed by a lot of organizations, individuals, the academe, on what should be the generally accepted definition of the concept. It's actually very simple. Try to imagine a plane. How many people can a plane accommodate? If the maximum number that a plane can accommodate would be 50, then the carrying capacity would be 50 because the 51st person won't have any seat to sit on. That's a thing you have to remember about carrying capacity. The maximum number of units or people or persons that can be accommodated in a space on a specific time. This is very important. It took me actually a long time to find out how to easily determine the carrying capacity. It actually took me almost 10 years, trying to find out, doing some research, advocating it, talking with people, with experts on how to really determine the carrying capacity in an area. And the secret really is to determine the limiting factor. At first glance, carrying capacity would be intimidating, and the limiting factor, like when you look at the definition of what a limiting factor is, like this Liebig's law of the minimum, and it could become a little bit technical or very technical for quite a lot of people. But the limiting factor is very important because it will give you the basis to determine the carrying capacity. So we go here to make it easier for a lot of people to understand what the limiting factor is, especially when it comes to tourism. Let's say you have a space, you have a destination. Let's say this is an island or a beach, no? Or let's say a protected area or a forest. Let's say this blue area can accommodate 2,000 people at the same time. They can go here, they can station here, anywhere here, no, in the blue area. But what if all those 2,000 people would want to go into this red area, which can only accommodate 80 people? You cannot base your carrying capacity based on the blue area because they can be anywhere in the blue area. But if all of them would want to go here, then this will become the basis for your limiting factor and therefore your carrying capacity. So the carrying capacity of the site would be 80 people, not 2,000 people. Like this example of an island, this is somewhere in El Nido. No? This is a relatively big islet. It has a huge forest, a hill, or some sort of small mountain. Limestone, it's actually a limestone mountain. No? But what if all of the people would come here and utilize this beach area? So you could imagine, you could say that this island can accommodate, let's say, 100 to 100 people. But what if this beach could only accommodate 20 people, then the limiting factor or the carrying capacity would have to be based on this beach area, not the entire island. The most often cited model for determination of the carrying capacity is the Bouillon model. This is very simple, but this is only based on space, not on so many other things that you can base your carrying capacity or limiting factor on, let's say, ecological, biological, social, all those things. No, but if you're only concerned with space, this is one of the best formulas. No? So the carrying capacity formula is the area used by tourists over average individual standard. Now, what are those? To illustrate, um, try to imagine this one is a view deck. The area, the length is about 20 meters and the depth is about, or the width is about 5 meters. That's the area used by tourists. So 20 times 5 is 100. Now, the average individual standard is a person's personal space to fully appreciate the site and not be bothered or inconvenienced by other people that are intruding into his space, no, into his personal space. Meaning, when you're in the view deck, you must have that space in order to optimize your experience while viewing the scenery. No? So let's say your personal space or your average individual standard is about 4 square meters. That's 2 by 2 though. So the carrying capacity for the site is 25. That's for the number of people that can be accommodated for a specific time, no? Now we go to the next slide, which would be the allowed daily visit. Now, people will not stay in the view deck for the entire duration that the site is open, no? They will have to go out, no? They will have to enjoy other places. So this thing means that the total daily visit would be the carrying capacity times the rotation coefficient, and the rotation coefficient is the number of hours the area is open to tourists over average time of visit. Now, when you're in the restaurant business, this will be easy to understand. This is just the same thing as seat turnover or table turnover, meaning the number of times that the table or the seat is replaced by a new customer. So the formula is like this: a number of hours area is open to tourists over average time of visit. So we have an example. Let's say the number of hours the area is open to tourists, let's say it's about 8 hours now. So let's say it's open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then the average time of visit for the tourists will be 2 hours. That's a length of time that they would stay in the area. Now, this is the thing about carrying capacity. If you really want to be really solid in coming up with the numbers, you have to observe or you have to do a lot of research now in order to determine the average individual standard or the average time of visit of people in a particular site. If you don't have that yet, then you could assign numbers subject to validation. You can do that just so you'll have the basis, no, to come up with a carrying capacity, but it's very important that you validate the numbers so that you'll have enough justification to keep the numbers or to change the numbers. Now, so to get a total of daily visit or the daily allowed daily visit, you just multiply the carrying capacity times the rotation coefficient, which is about 100 people. So 100 people can be accommodated in the view deck for the day, not 25. That's 100 people. Now, these are some of the examples of carrying capacities in many places in the world. You know, like in Africa, they've done a lot of studies in the 80s and 90s that the carrying capacity for the cheetahs to keep on moving, hunting, would be about 5 vehicles. Meaning that if there are 6 vehicles surrounding or trying to, quote unquote, harass the cheetahs or tourist vehicles or vans surrounding a cheetah, it won't move anymore. It won't go about its daily, daily life. No? It will just stay in its place. So they found out that the carrying capacity for the cheetah is 5 vehicles. In Australia, they've done some studies on turtle watching, And you'll be surprised that up to 70 people could be accommodated to go watch a turtle laying eggs. This is scientifically done. The number may seem absurd, but apparently the turtle can tolerate that much number of people, and those people can fully enjoy the experience while doing turtle watching. It's very important also to understand that when you do something like this, including into nature, you have to understand the ecological and other factors that would affect the behavior of the wildlife that is being watched. No? So for a turtle laying egg, it won't be bothered, quote unquote, by people watching it once it starts laying eggs. But before it starts laying eggs, when it senses a person coming near or any predator coming in, then it will run back to the sea. So from zero, before it starts lays eggs, to 70 people when it starts laying eggs. In Donsol, for the whale sharks, we follow the model in Australia. Actually, that's one boat per whale shark in the area, and also 5 swimmers per whale shark. No? But 5 people can swim around a whale shark, also in Donsol. In Puerto Princesa, they've come up with a number of 900 plus. I heard that it's almost 1,000 now to go inside the underground river for a day. No? So that's not actually the carrying capacity, but the allowed total visit, no, daily visit. We've gone through the first phase of the discussion on the carrying capacity. Maraming salamat and see you in the next video.